Hello, my Esperanca friends. My name is Nick Alcock, and I apologize for my setting here. It's a little bit formal, but as you can tell, I am an attorney, and I apologize for being an attorney. But I am absolutely committed to Esperanca, and I love everybody over there, and they asked me to put together a little video to talk in greater detail about some of the work that I've done with Esperanca, some things I've seen, and why it is that I'm utterly and completely committed to the Esperanca cause. It has been the joy of my life, honestly, to be a part of the team at Esperanca, and I'm a very, very low-level team member in the sense that I'm not on the board and I don't involve myself in any of the decisions at Esperanca, but I just love being in their orbit. I love being a part of it, and it motivates me, it excites me, and so as a consequence, here I am to talk about my experience with Esperanca and why it really changed my life. I got involved in Esperanca for realistically immature and wrong reasons. They had a party every year, and it was at the Cajun House. This was almost 30 years ago. And I went to this party, and it was for 20-somethings, and it was a mixer, and that just got me involved in Esperanca. I learned about it. I didn't really talk to too many people over there. I gave them a little bit of money, but it wasn't something that I thought about that much. And then one day, many years ago, my daughter, she had a pretty significant heart surgery, and it just stopped me in my tracks. It was one of those moments where, when you turn your infant child over to a doctor and you watch your infant child be put under, it is a very, very profound moment. And walking out into the waiting area, you find a gear that you didn't know really existed. So that matured me very quickly. And so I was kind of thinking to myself, all right, well, if you get through this, Nick, and if my daughter gets through this, then I need to pay it forward in some real way. Because I knew at that moment just how lucky I was to have the doctors working on her that were working on her, and it was a moment. So a short time later, I was invited to one of the breakfasts at Esperanca. And I went with the idea of just kind of checking it out, but not even really fully understanding, really believing in the work that Esperanca did. I didn't know enough about it at the time. So a doctor got up, his name was Dr. Nicholas Retson. He gets up and he has a little presentation. And I have concerns when I'm watching this presentation. And the doctor's great. He does a great job with his presentation, but I'm a lawyer and I can't help myself. And so I'm watching this presentation, I'm thinking to myself, why does the doctor need financial support? Why can't he just go down and do this? Like, what's the big deal? Why does he need Esperanca? He's a plastic surgeon. What's going on with that? That's number one. Number two is that I had lived in Costa Rica for a while when I was a kid, and my experience in Costa Rica was like, they have doctors there, they've got healthcare there. Why is it that we have to get involved in these children's lives? Why is it that there needs to be a medical mission sent to Nicaragua? And that was coming from a relatively enlightened perspective. I had lived in Central America before, but I was still a little bit hesitant about that. And then the third is this work that they're doing, is it really that profoundly life-changing? Is it really worth it? Does the money that you spend on a mission, does it really go to the cause that they say it's going to go to? So I found myself at that moment realizing, look, my daughter had gone through the surgery. I was in the foxhole, and I was not an atheist at that time, and I was all in. I said, when an opportunity presents itself, I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity, and I'm going to go. It's not like I'm just going to write a check and hope for the best and hope that the money's spent the right way. I've been a sponsor of medical mission. This is my way of paying it forward. So I went down to Nicaragua, and I was a really fish out of water. Didn't know what was going on. And with Dr. Retson, he involves you in the surgical procedures. You're in the room when it's happening. I'm wearing scrubs. I am way out of my league. I always tell people that I'm the black sheep of the family. My brother's the doctor and I'm the lawyer. And my brother would have been totally comfortable in that environment, and I was not comfortable. I wasn't comfortable in the hospital environment either, because you've got kids packed in to very, very small rooms, very, very profoundly small rooms, 7, 8 kids with all of their families. And I just was looking at this, and it was bewildering, and it was really overwhelming, to be honest with you. Leaving, I knew absolutely, I had my questions answered, that these are profoundly, unbelievably meaningful surgeries done on these children. It changes their life forever. And there's no question that it's worth it. For $10,000, 50 surgeries, 60 surgeries are done over a week period of time. Bang for your buck as far as investment goes, a $200 investment is changing the life of a child forever. But as I was leaving, I had this weird experience where effectively it was someone in the army in Nicaragua, and they had AK-47, and they stopped our bus as we were leaving, and the bus has got all this medical equipment on top, and I get out, and I'm like, and I find myself having this conversation with this soldier in the army about why it is that we shouldn't pay the bribe. Like, we came here to help, and and I'm sitting there, I'm talking to him by the roadway, and I got back into the truck, and there was a really nice driver there who'd been driving us around, and his name is Armando. I was talking to Armando, and I was really proud of myself because I'd gotten us out of having to pay whatever the bribe was. And he looked at me and he's like, for such a smart person with so many degrees and education and everything, it's like, you really don't know anything, do you? And I was like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, you just spent half an hour trying to get us out of a $2 bribe. And you risked your life having this conversation. Now, was my life really in risk? No, but it was a moment where I realized I don't know enough. I didn't ask enough questions. So I decided to go back again. But go back, and instead of just sort of being bewildered and overwhelmed by the whole thing, go back and really dig deep and really ask questions. Get in there and talk to people. Everyone I talk to, ask as many questions as they'll allow me to ask, and try to get answers. So I went back again. And what I learned that second time was really transformative, very, very interesting. What I learned was that the children who were coming to get these surgeries, they were coming from far and wide. They were coming from the border of Honduras. These were kids who never ever would have gotten the surgery. When you talk to the parents, how far did you come? How did you get here? How long did it take you? Days and days, by boat, by horse, you name it, from all over the land, they're coming. These are people who otherwise would never have been identified for their cleft lip and cleft palate surgeries. It never would have gotten there. What the other surgical teams that go through that area, when I'm in talking to people, what I was learning, and I don't want to disparage them, and they're doing certainly important work, but this is just what I was told. And what I was told was, yeah, other people come through, they party a little bit, they get some surgeries done, but they're getting surgeries done of people who are connected, people who are connected to the government, stuff like that. And they get a few surgeries done and then they leave. And then basically it turns into kind of a tourist mission. Of course, not every single medical mission performed by other charities is like that, but that's just what I was being told. And the big difference between Esperanca and the other charities is that they've got Avodec there. And Avodec is it's a concentrated group of people that go out and find people that otherwise would never ever get the surgery done. What I learned is that children who have a cleft lip in Nicaragua, they are bullied and harassed to a point beyond comprehension. And one aspect of that, and a common sort of feeling about children that have this, is that they have been quote unquote touched by the devil. So when you get a surgery done for a child like this, you are really accomplishing generational change for the parents, for the child, for the children's children. You're doing something like, I did not know that. I didn't have enough, courage to ask questions, and I didn't know enough to really know culturally what was happening. So these surgeries that are done are performed on kids that otherwise would never have them done. They're truly, truly transformative. But Esperanca is not just a charity that does cleft lip, cleft palate. That's not just all they do. And when you're here in Arizona, it's sort of like, that's really the exciting stuff that they do. These before and after pictures are really, really compelling. It's sort of like must-see TV when you see the fixer-upper, and we're geared to be really dialed into the before and after shot. And that's, of course, I have taken a child from a parent and walk the child in, and then receive the child and return the child to the parent with the surgery done. And it is amazing. It is an amazing, amazing experience. It is transformative beyond belief. The gratitude that the parents have is something that I'll never, ever forget. But that isn't all the work that Esperanca does. So the second time I went out really deep into the countryside, again, asking questions, learning what it's like to live in a slum in Nicaragua, an outlying area in Nicaragua. The conditions that people live in are really quite unimaginable. You can't imagine it unless you see it. What you're looking at is effectively tents that are put together with plastic roofs and just materials that are, discarded. It is no running water, no sanitation, no power. It is absolutely mind-blowing that the people who live in those dwellings are as generous and grateful as they are and of good spirit. And they're inspirational. It's inspirational to be out there. What you learn when you ask questions, though, is, what do you need? What they need is that they need water. And why do they need water? It's really interesting because what they say when you talk to a parent, they don't say, well, I need water because it will make my life easier. They say, we need water so that our children don't have to go however many miles to go get water from the lake and bring it up. We need water so our children don't get sick. We need water so that if our children are not invested in gathering water, that they can go to school. And we need a school which is close by because as it is, there's no bus service. These are kids who are walking to school on very narrow, very dangerous highways. And a child recently had died walking to school being hit by a bus. So when you talk to people and you realize as a parent, what it is that the parents want, they want things for their children. When you show up in a place, you're tempted to bring as much food, and I did that. I brought all this food, and they were grateful for the food, and they didn't have that much food. But in speaking to them about what they actually wanted, they wanted a school nearby, a sense of community, a place where they can get water, some level of security is what they were looking for. A level of security that is, compared to our standards, is so unbelievably incrementally small, but for them it's a gigantic deal. So we built a school. There was a foundation of a school that had been started by someone and it never really got finished. And so while I was there the second time, after listening to the parents and what it is they wanted, let's get this thing done. And so, as you can tell from the pictures, we got it done. And it was a school, it was a very meaningful project. The community got together. We had a party at the end of the building process. It was a great, great, magical time. You're on this hillside, and the stars are like you can't believe. There's no electricity, so there's no streetlights anywhere. And it's a clear night, and we just had this incredible party, and everybody was just grateful to be there, including myself, grateful to be able to be in the company of these amazing people. So Esperanca is involved in that. Esperanca is involved in providing education. Esperanca is involved in providing water. There's water there now. The kids don't have to go down to the lake. The lake is polluted, but they've got water. The water is safe to drink. And because the kids don't have to walk as far, now that they can have a sense of community, they're there. They've got time to invest in their education. And that's when I met Heidi, and that's when I started to think long-term about legacy, about how to touch individual people, how to change their lives. And Esperanca sticks with people. It's not just like, oh, well, you get one surgery done and then bye-bye, we'll never see you again. They actually bring the children back from wherever they came from. And it could be a very, very long journey. They'll bring them back for a little follow-up. They'll bring them back the next medical mission, and they'll do another surgery. They'll do the cleft lip first, and they'll come back and they'll do cleft palate. They'll do a revision on a scar. They'll do the type of stuff that they would do if it were your own child. And I actually saw something that Dr. Retson did that I'll never forget. It will always touch my life. And it was that at the end of the medical mission, there's just one more day of surgeries. Everybody's super exhausted. These surgeries are going on for 7 in the morning until midnight. And or 11 o'clock at night. And then there's a meeting afterwards to talk about the surgeries that are coming up the next day. So I've been out and we've been working on this school. I'm pretending to work. It's definitely not something that I'm, I can't control. I can't say that I'm a construction worker, but I'm there and I come back and the medical team is completely wiped out, totally exhausted. And they're preparing for the next day's surgeries. And the nurses are not really paying attention. And Dr. Retson said, look, this is important. This child is our child. We have this child's life in our hands tomorrow. And as it turns out, the doctor was worried because there could be a complication. And so he says, hey, everyone pay attention. This is my child that I'm going to be operating on. You have to think of it that way. That's how we can't take this for granted. Sure enough, there was a complication and they were ready for it. And the child lived and survived and is thriving now. But I'll never ever forget that level of commitment. This is the last day. Everyone has a right to be exhausted. Everyone has a right to be checked out, but they're not. They're there and they're getting the job done. They're getting it correctly, get it done correctly. So getting back to the parents and talking to them, the gratitude is enormous. And I had been in that situation, turning my child over to a doctor, and I had that fear. And speaking with them, they're like, how could you be afraid when your heart is filled with gratitude? Experiences like that are why I'm involved in Esperanca. That's what it means to me. And on a personal level, it continues because during COVID, there was a moment where I know everyone that I talk to has the moment of just being overwhelmed, totally overwhelmed by COVID, completely overwhelmed by how am I going to make this business work? How am I going to survive this moment? And what I did was, honestly, I was feeling super down. I called Jerry. I was like, Jerry, how are you doing? What's going on over there? And Jerry said, well, thank you for calling, because by the way, there was a hurricane that went through the little town where you built the school. And when that hurricane hit, almost all of the little houses got blown away, but the school stood and the school remained. And so, I wanted to let you know that was a place of refuge. That was a place where they rode out the storm, and they were very, very grateful. So they've been hit by a hurricane. COVID is hitting these poor people. Their houses have been blown away, and they're grateful. That is such a perspective bender for me, and it completely changed my outlook at a moment where I was feeling sorry for myself. So then I'm like, Jerry, okay, let's see what we can do for these people. Let's get them. Let's see if we can help them rebuild. Let's see if we can get them the supplies that they need, get them food that they need, and keep going back, keep re-engaging, do what you can to help. So that's why I'm involved in Esperanca. It's something that is a very, very beautiful experience to make these beautiful children even more beautiful, to provide community for people that don't have a community, and to be a part of a person's life and to continue to watch them grow and develop. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever been a part of. So grateful that I got involved in Esperanca way back when, and I'll always be involved in Esperanca. And so if you have any questions at all, if you're thinking about donating, please, if you want to hear more stories, I got plenty of stories I can share with you. Give me a call at 602-999-1209. That's my cell phone. Call me up anytime, shoot me a text anytime. I'm happy to speak with you. I really, really encourage you to give and give generously. It's something that I do, and please, if you're thinking about sponsoring a medical mission and you maybe are on the fence and you're not really sure that your money's going to be well spent, talk to me, please. Allow me to answer any questions that you have. Allow me to make you feel really good about this investment that you're making, and allow you to feel as good as you should feel for making this type of investment. It is a beautiful thing to do. It's an amazing thing to do. The people at Esperanca are among the best people I've ever met in my life, and the work that they're doing has changed my life. So thank you very much, and thanks for watching this video. I appreciate you all, and thank you so much to Jerry, to everybody at Esperanca for all of the work that they do, and just for allowing me to be even a tiny little piece of it. It's been the honor of my life. So thank you again. And again, any questions, anything that you need, 602-999-1209 is my cell phone. Shoot me a call, shoot me a text. Please give to Esperanca. It's the best organization around. Thanks so much.